Okay, so I'm doing this video just to try and help the steps that we're going through on the Antistasi team membership add-on for the JPS server that we're doing. You need to follow this link, which opens up this page here. You need to download the code base. Then once there, you need to edit the, where's it at here, member list HTTP. This is his group and his notes that he's put in there. I ask you also to do the / comment format in there in order to make this work. So when we've got this set up, parenthesis, comma, and then / whatever the name of the player is going to be. We get this information from the battle metric system. If you don't have that already on your system, you probably need it at some point, but that's mine, and I can put in a name and try and search for that player. After whatever, grab it, and that's my the full Steam ID right there. Obviously, if you search it, that's going to be that guy right there then. The one trick is you will kill the file if you put a comma on the last line. Comma tells it that this array, and this is technically a array, and take it for what it's worth. This is the array format that we're required to use at this point inside the class. So the UID array right here is the name, but we're filling it with a list of unique identifiers for all the individual players who are going to have admin access for the server. This part right here is something we do just so we can tell who it is in case we need to walk it out. Instead of going back to battle metric, you can just log into the file and say, what was the guy's name again? Okay, great, done. Pull it out, compile it. So going back over here, there's a whole list of steps that I've got in there for installing the C++ extension you need. That's part of the Arma3 tool set. You don't have to have it open and running when you do it. You just need to edit that file like we just talked about right here. And I've got in here, test 4 is one of the tests that I made that actually works. And so it gives you this default section. You go into here, you drop in your member list, which is the part we showed already there. Then you're going to drop in your updates and your tweaks, like I can change the file to be today or whatever. So they do European style, and so I've just kept it that way just in case anybody ever goes back and looks at the JPS stuff and wants to revamp this, as I noted right there, European date stamp. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to put in there the file that I made earlier today. Let's go here. Here we are. And so the batch file that they use was set up very specifically to run in a certain way. And that's why when I'm doing this, oops. There we go. So we're going to save this in place of the other file. So I've made backups of that file. I have backups of everything everywhere. So I'm going to save it as that file right now. And I'm going to say yes, replace it, because I know what I'm doing with that. Although I do want the name changed still. 26.12 we said. Oops. So it's a current file setup. I should open it one more time and check for errors, anything else on there. I don't do the alternative method if you haven't guessed. So we just have the array right there, but we could make a class for each player if we really wanted to, and that would make it a little cleaner, but a little longer. It'd be harder to read, but cleaner to edit. So trade-offs, right? And once we've got all this information here, this is the configuration that they use for it, and this is how they set everything up. We can tweak a lot of things from here if we really wanted to. It's generally not worth it, but if we ever wanted to make a menu system so we could just list all the players who are currently on, we could do that. Or we could feed in there a list from the battle metric query and pull any player who had played in the last year or something like that and or search for a player through Battlemetrics that has never logged in before and add them as a server member also. But that's kind of unnecessary. So going on to the batch file that actually runs, what happens in here is this folder right here for Antistasi members is used to generate the above folder with the @ symbol on it. And it's done through the batch file there. There's a few other things that I had to do in here, and I made notes about it as much as I could. Mainly just saying if you're going to move shit, you got to know what you're doing with it. Otherwise, don't move shit. And I had to edit the batch file's location for this to run. So when you open this up, you're going to see some very specific stuff where he says don't change anything below it. I had to change the source because where I had my files located was not the place where his files were located. And so there's like the CD/Antistasi members add-on or whatever, and that goes in here and then goes in add-ons and adds the PBO file that we want. Technically, all this stuff right here is just junk that I put in there when I had extracted the file for a test. It's not actually necessary for this process to work. It's just, this is the single file that goes up on the server. The trick gonna be, if I'm still logged in here, and I'm not, so give me a moment just to finish logging this part in. Oh wait, I am still connected. Okay, good. So this is the llama server that we're doing here. This is the this is the folder that I am using for the Antistasi server member, and just like in the file system that we're using right here for add-ons, if you notice it's the Antistasi server members and then add-ons, we mimic that location for the, so that's fine, let's go ahead and sign that part in and get the list. We mimic that location. And so when I first started out, I was making backups onto the server so everyone would have a copy of that backup. It's kind of a flawed backup, and I actually have uploaded other copies of the CB file folder to the, why is it not deleting? Oh, the server's running. We probably can't delete while the server's going. Normally I stop the server for everything, but we're filming at like 8 o'clock and there's like 5 guys logged on right now for the playing. But I just want to point out that when I FTP it in there, this is where you're dropping it. It's into the add-ons folder, not the direct @server members folder. So now, going back to actually generating the file, which is the part that everybody needs, there are a few things that I had to change in here to make this part work, and you're going to have to change them yourself. If you have, where's his wildcards at? So these are the types of files that are picked up, and when he says the wildcard calls right there, this is the text file he's referring to, and SQF and CPP and HPP need to be in there. They should be all ready if you're using my copy, but they might not be, and you might have to add them. So there's a couple other things going into this, but this should be enough to get you going. And once you're aware of the fact that you need to tweak some of the settings in here, except for bullets, it might not be explanatory, but for everybody else, it probably should be. You basically have to know where you have the Antistasi unit membership folder holding the files that we just talked about, because the batch file needs to know where they're at. That's really all it comes down to. And so the add-on builder sets the location of the tool. Let's see if I can make it all in one line there. There we go. This is the location of the Arma3 tools folder, basically, and then you also have to drill down into where the add-on builder exe is located at. It works better when it's not running before you run the batch file, actually, because it takes, like, there's some sort of conflict that happens with it. It took me a little bit to figure that out. So then we run it, and it goes through a whole list of things, and it says build was successful. That's the important part there. You can still have other types of errors, like you forgot to put the right file in the right place, etc. But if this finishes, it means it made you a PBO file. Verification of that, though, is a little bit rough. Once again, we have to go in here, and then we check the date modified. If the date modified is good, and you got the file in the right place, and you pointed all the other stuff in the right place, you probably got that to work. But how you check that is once you install PBO Manager, never make a PBO with it. It's bugged. You can only read files with it. Say extract to Antistasi servers folder. And once that pops up, we go in there and then we check the member list. And we make sure it matches the last person we added, or if we didn't add them in the chronological order, we check up here to see if it matches the date and the time that we added it at, which in this case it did. This PBO is now ready for us to grab the PBO and FTP it up like I showed you guys earlier. We're not going to do that because in order to do that, we have to stop the server where everybody's playing at right now. It just doesn't work to do it otherwise. So, Antistasi has been updated a lot, but the Arma 3 game has not been changed in its core engine much at all in the last 8 years. So they don't have live file and binary file loading or temporary file loading that will then, once you restart the computer, grab or restart the game, basically let you hot swap. So we are stuck waiting until we crash the server or down the server ourselves, and then we run an update on it. And that is how I run the Antistasi server member list. Setting up the member list with the add-ons and such is like a different video, basically.